Hello Reflex fam, and welcome to your Reflex Piazza Facebook group community reaction for week 12 of 2024. Now this is the fourth week of the first photographer of the month competition. March is a long month and we have one more week to go for you to post your photos, and then I will choose the winner. And things are hotting up. We've got another stacked reaction, so I'm not going to be able to spend ages waxing lyrical about your amazing creations. But hopefully I can do some of them justice. Now, we're going to see a lot of this guy, unfortunately, for this week. Now, the banter siren is back on the wall, where it's going to stay, because I haven't needed it for a while because people seem to understand what a joke is now. But let's start off with the usually mediocre Scott Baker. I don't know what's happened. Something's in the water over there in Canada, and he seems to be spending a lot of time by the water. And this is an example of how you don't need like a 20-second, 30-second capture time for your long exposure. It's just a few seconds. The clouds must have been right. Either he's combined two images here of the clouds, or these clouds were racing across the sky, because there's no way you'd get just that little bit of movement in the water and all that movement in the clouds. Maybe the clouds just look like that. Sometimes, like, I'll be driving and I'll say to my wife, the clouds look like a long exposure already. So I could be looking into it too much. This is a great image with all the light refracting and reflecting off the water, the slight movements, all the textures and shapes and the colours that that's creating. And then you've got the sky. It's an image of two halves, as I seem to find myself saying a lot on these reactions. But this is just the first of one of Scott Baker's images today. And all of them are the ones I've chosen. There's like 3 or 4 to go with them. He's got a lot of posts. If I can bring up like some more, I highly recommend checking them out. This one, for example, looks like a cloud inversion. If you ever witnessed a cloud inversion in person, which I've not, I really want to. This is what the clouds do when they go into a valley and they flip upside down. No, they don't. It looks like this. It's really spectacular. So well done, Scott. You seem to be, here he is again. This is from a different post. I swear it's from a different post. Let me just double check. I'm sure it's from a different post. Yeah. Like, he's on one. He really is. He's used the same sort of technique. And this one is, yeah, so the water it's a hint of movement. And that's something that I want to explore myself, because I'm still nicking all your ideas. And that's the only reason I do these reactions. No, seriously though. It's something that, now that England is getting a bit warmer again and the beaches are starting to become a bit more accessible for photography and shorelines and stuff, it's something that I definitely want to explore myself. Not going all out with the 2-minute, 3-minute long exposure and trying to smooth the water out completely. There's a place for that, but there's also a place for this sort of thing. And I definitely want to give it a try. So well done, Scott. Let me have another quick look at the rest of the post here. So yeah, look at that, the way the water, he's caught the water coming up there. You'd have lost that if you'd have blurred it all completely. So nice job, Scott. We'll be seeing another one from Scott before this video is over. Now, having just said that about smoothing the water out and it not always being the right thing to do, here it definitely is. Look at that. This is brilliant. This is someone whose name I don't think I've seen before, Andrew Hulson from Hampshire. Is that in the UK? If it is, I'm missing out, because look at this. This looks absolutely brilliant. The reflection here. It looks like the image has been flipped almost. When I look up here, this looks like a reflection, and it's unbelievable. And it's a different type of editing. We've gone from very colourful, lots of reds and yellows and things like that, to more of a muted, natural looking palette like this here. Hasn't been overly saturated. I would have been tempted to saturate it to contrast against the blue, but Andrew has resisted that temptation or just not done it, and it works. It really does for this type of scene. Editing for you, not just having one editing style for every scene, trying to adapt. It's why I spend a lot of time editing my photos, because every time I take a photo, it's like I've just discovered editing again, or what it feels like anyway. So well done, Andrew. Okay, wow. Now we've gone really, really natural here. We've got the bright... someone keeps telling me what these are called, but I don't know. White flower thing that when you blow on it, it all flies away. It's very nice. You got the white, bright macro image of this flower with the really deep greens in the background there. Like the luminance has been brought all the way down on the greens, because doesn't seem to be a vignette around this side of it, which again is another interesting editing choice. I would have vignetted this probably and drawn more attention to this, but it doesn't need it, and Julian here has done really well. Dandelion, it's a dandelion, there you go. 75mm long range macro lens, great macro lens for this type of shot, adding a bit more context or keeping more context in your macro images, whereas the 10x you would have gotten closer and it can make for very interesting stuff. But when you want to just take a little bit of a step back and still get the macro, the 75 is the way to go. So nice one, loving that depth of field there as well. How all this just blurs out and you get the textures. This looks possibly focus stacked, because the depth of field on these things, it depends what phone he's got. 15 Pro Max, the depth of field is just insanely shallow when you use the macro lenses on that thing. 13 Pro Max, not so much. So I'd be keen to know what phone he actually captured this on. So, something completely different again. And by the way, there's a lot of images this week that didn't make it on. And there's a few pier ones of where the pier's going out to sea and it follows the line and the rule of thirds. I've reacted to about 1 million of those so far. There's nothing wrong with them. They're great. But different stuff is going to get you on, a little more likely. Of just an average scene, you go out for an evening with the family and you probably maybe you get dragged along, but you've got REEHLEX with you and you can do some photography while you're there. It probably looks like you're taking a video, but you know better. You're taking a handheld long exposure, and these ones of people being blurred always work better when there's a couple of people who have managed to stay still throughout the capture time. So well done. And this is, it's mainly the people that I like about this image, how there's a mixture of blur and still ones. I love the colors, love these. I was going to call it a windmill, and these Ferris wheel is it a Ferris wheel? It is called a Ferris wheel. Is that the American term? What's the British term? Big wheel. Anyway, the way the poles are always still and the wheel itself is moving always draws my attention. Nice one. Now this one by Bob Holman, this looks like my first impression was it's like a phoenix. So these are the wings, one here, eyes, the head and the beak, and it's like a phoenix, and these almost look like tallows rising up. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I call it my flat-footed screaming duck. This was inside one of my houseplants, an orchid. I knew it was an orchid. I knew that, you see. I'm learning. Well done, Bob. Now, this one is a bit of a mind bend. So it's been flipped, but he's done something to the blur as well, the lens blur. There's no reason why these two should be different on different focal planes. They're not. So he's kept the focus here on the flipped version of this cyclist, blurred everything else. It's like that, you almost get like this weird trippy tilt shift effect, and it works. It's worked here. It made me stare at this image for longer than I normally would have if it was kept the right way up and not had that effect onto it. So well done there, Luke. Very, very nice. Getting creative with the editing there. Why not? Same sort of thing with this plan, which I definitely don't know what this is. Thin blueberries. Same as the dandelion before, except the opposite of the background, whereas the dark background before helped draw your attention to this plant here. Even though it's a white background, a lighter background with colours in it, it still works because of that depth of field. Depth of field is so shallow, your attention just comes straight here. The colours make this. The colours hint very strongly, obviously. They don't just hint, they let you know what is beyond, which is very cool as well. It's like I can see it and I know what it is because I can see it here, but I can't get there, and it draws you in. So very, very well done, Eric. Love this. I've seen your name a few times popping up recently. Good to see you back. So this guy, again, geez Louise, Scott Baker. Now, it's tempting when you see a sunset like this to just point your camera at it up. Scotty's gone the opposite way. He's gone down, and he's pointed it at the sea, which is where he spends a lot of his time. So we might have to start calling him Captain Scott or something like that. I don't know. But as in most of his images recently, he's gone for that slower capture time. And this was actually the REEFLEX Pro camera app. Interesting. So this wasn't the image, but I've just seen this for the first time. Okay. I wore the wrong footwear for this. Nah. I'm so childish. So this is the image that I was looking at, and I'd like to know how much time does Scott actually take to capture these things? What's the trial and error process? Is he taking long to find a good composition? Because this works because you've got the line here coming down this way, just like that. You got a mixture of dark and then light. You got the slight reflection of color in the water here in the spray. You've got the wave here, and how it goes from light to dark across the frame, blue to red. It's brilliant. It's an image of contrasts, and I love it. Well done, Scott. I say begrudgingly. Right, this is quite brilliant. It's very sharp, and the clarity and everything is like, wow. But it works because it's a wet landscape, so that sort of stuff works in this situation. Very crisp. Everything's very, very crisp. You've got shot on 15 Pro Max with reheld 15 seconds in Scotland. So I was going to say I've never been to Scotland. Of course I've been to Scotland. I've been to Edinburgh and I enjoyed it. And yeah, little stream flowing down here. And what caught my eye, and you'll see this in another picture coming up in a minute, is the contrast between the smoothness and the anti-smoothness. This is the like binary 1 and 0, chalk and cheese, black and white. It's smooth and whatever the opposite is of smooth, and it works very well. And then you get a more of an image when you go up here and you see this sweeping landscape. So you get this close, intimate look at the stream. Then you look up here and you've got this sweeping, looks like a roadway or something's going on over here that tells you there's more. And it's brilliant. It's this wide angle stuff that I'm jealous of. Well, I'm not jealous because that's a sin, but it makes me want to go out and learn more and practice it more. So well done, Andrew. Again, I don't think I've seen you here before. You're not from around these parts, so it's great to have you. Well done. And this is the complete opposite, sort of, kind of. If this is that hyper real, like wow, in your face with everything turned up, this is the opposite. This has had the clarity turned down. And there's something going on in the sky here. But my attention is down here, and it looks very serene, very natural, even more natural than this other image that we saw earlier. In fact, this one makes this one look like overly saturated. This one is so far the other way. And again, it's different edits for different scenes rather than just using the same presets over and over again. Adapting and trying to find what works for different scenes. It looks like a darkroom edit because of this frame over here. But even without it, it looks like a darkroom edit. And yeah, very well done, Andrew. I'm sure yeah, it's the same person. Yeah. Ay. Right, so this is what I was talking about earlier about having this contrast between the smooth and the not smooth. I need to learn the word for not smooth. This is This is great stuff, especially when you see more. I love posts because you get more context. So you can see the context of where he is. And here's that. Look at that. It doesn't look half as good. It looks, because the water's frozen in time, the motion is frozen. You get to see what was going on there. Here's the non-motion blur version, and here's the motion blur version. It just looks so much better. You get to see through the water and at the rocks behind. It's brilliant. So well done, Luke. And that finishes off another very strong week within the world of REEFLEX and the REEFLEX Piazza Facebook group. You've got 1 week left to get your entries in for the first photographer of the month competition. And when I say get your entries in, if you're not sure what that means, just post on the group and you're automatically entered into the competition. Remember, I'm looking for variety, consistency, creativity, those sorts of things. There's not going to be any one photograph and I never hear from you again. You're not going to win. I don't care what it is. It might be a picture of me. That's not gonna, that favoritism will not help you win, although it would earn you some points if someone shared a photo of me. In fact, a photo of me will be an instant win. If anyone can post a photo they have taken of me in the REEFLEX Piazza Facebook group, is an instant win. I'm telling you right now. And the Reflexes don't know this. I will give you a prize. And I can confidently say that because no one in that group has met me. I don't think, anyway. Right. Goodbye, and I'll see you next week.